Seville is one of the most stunning cities I've ever seen. And today we're going to walk around and find out what's in the historic center. I'm Ariel, this is Urbanist, and we are going to do a live video walk through the historic center of Seville, starting here at Parque de Maria Luisa, the park. It is absolutely stunning. Seville, I was blown away. I thought Seville was going to, have like a smaller historical center and then be more of a modern city, similar to some of these older medieval towns that became cities. But no, Seville actually has an impressive, massive historic center. And we are just kind of on the outside cusp of it, but we're going to enter it very soon. But first, let's take a small, quick jaunt through the Parque de Maria Luisa. Let me know where you're watching from. I'm Ariel. This is Urbanist. Now, one of the things that blows me away when it comes to Seville is the stunning vegetation. And I love the mixture of these palm trees, these huge, massive trees filled with branches. Look how big this one is, and this one might be very, very old. It reminds me actually a lot of Puerto Rico as I'm walking around here. Lots of birds chirping, people out and about. Such a beautiful atmosphere. And today, luckily, is one of those rare days that it's actually a little bit cloudy. So I'm not roasting in the hot sun. Hello, Kay. Hello, Wendy. Nice to see you here. Hello, Dutchman, Shane, Daniel. Welcome, everyone. Nice to see you here. Welcome to beautiful Seville. Let me know where you are watching from. Now, I actually came to this park in hopes of seeing Plaza de España, the Spanish Plaza. However, it's closed because they're about to have a concert later tonight. But let's approach the tower so we can see it from the outside. Camila says, I'm watching from town. You visited last October. Hey! Wendy says it's so pretty. I agree, Wendy. Now, I'm very impressed by Seville. It has so many beautiful sights, which we're going to pass by a few as we go into the historic center. And the architecture actually is one of the other highlights of this city. It has architecture that you really won't find in any other city. You go to like Italy, and Italy has, of course, stunning architecture, but you see this Renaissance style architecture in many Italian cities. Or if you go to the medieval cities of the Netherlands and Central Europe, you see a lot of the same architecture. But here you really see something unique, I think, to Andalusia, if not Seville. And here is a perfect example, right straight ahead of us. One of the towers in La Plaza de España. Now, pardon the shakiness with the camera. Prism Live Studio did some weird thing, the app that I always use for a long time. And whenever I zoom in now with this new update, for some reason it's shaking. I have no idea why, even though I'm using a gimbal. Look at that. So the main reason the architecture is actually so unique is because of the Islamic influence. Spain was under Islamic rule for nearly 700 years, all the way until the Kingdom of Granada, which fell by 1492. But the architectural elements actually stayed. They stayed here more than they even did in Portugal. Portugal was reconquered a bit earlier than most of the modern day Spain as we know it today. So I think this is why it survived for a little bit longer. Hey, Santi Chiban says, Seville's alright, but nightlife is a bit dead. Valencia is underrated and far more youthful. You know, Barcelona also is extremely lively. Sevilla, I would not come here for the nightlife. You know, it doesn't seem to be that city. The city is more for the architecture, the beauty, the history, the swans, but not so much, I would say, nightlife. So I'm not surprised. Erica says, will you go to see flamenco? I did see flamenco in Barcelona and loved it. And yeah, I'm going to check out more flamenco in one of the many places here tonight. I'm actually very excited. I already got my tickets. Alma asks, have I been tempted to visit Gibraltar? I always have a tough time pronouncing that country, but no, yes, I have actually. I don't have time. This is a short trip. I'm only here for, I think it was ended up being 5 days in total. I have one more day left here in Seville. I wanted to do a day trip to Cadiz or Malaga, but the trains were basically fully booked. So that said, I end up realizing there's a lot to southern Spain, actually. A lot of history, a lot of places to visit. There's Granada, which I won't have time for. There is the town of the stones, I forgot the name. There's like a medieval town in the mountains. I think it's called Ronda. And there's Cordoba as well, which was the old capital of the Islamic Caliphate here in Al-Andalus, which is now modern day Spain and Portugal. There's actually a whole lot here to enjoy in southern Spain. Yeah, I want to come back because I realize there's so much, and everything is fairly close by train. So it just seems like a very easy country to get around with public transportation, either train or bus. Samuel says, ooh, live stream. Yeah, man. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please tell me where you recommend to go see flamenco. Yes. Look at my Instagram stories. I will be posting a little bit more about Barcelona, which I actually forgot to post about Barcelona. Stay tuned. And then I'll be posting about Seville as well. So go to Urbanus Ariel. I'm Urbanus Ariel every platform, but I will be also going to be posting places that I don't feature on live stream or short videos. Look at all these baby chicks. Now, might be tempting, like the little girl was going to pet them, but I would recommend not doing so because the parents can get very aggressive. Alan says, thank you so much for these live streams. I have missed them. Alan, happy to see you again. Hope you're doing well. And let's go to the historic center, shall we? This is gonna be a large park. Actually, I'm quite enamored with it, walking around. Seems to be before service here though. Irene says ducks are aggressive sometimes. Yes, precisely why I'm not getting too close, especially to the little chickies. That would be a very bad idea. Dupaj, nice to see you here. Hamaz, nice to see you here. Samuel says your last video about Spanish Al-Andalus, the former Islamic caliphates that ruled over modern day Spain and Portugal, was great. Oh, I'm so glad you enjoyed it. It's a pair of videos. I first talk about Al-Andalus and then I talk about the Spanish Inquisition. Two very interesting times in history. Ron, nice to see you here on the live stream. Welcome, nice to see you. How's everyone doing? Oi fan says, do you know that ducks quack when flying because they're afraid of heights? I did not know that. I'm not sure how accurate that is, but if it is accurate, that is a fun fact indeed. All right, let me know if you're ready to go into the historic center to see some grand architecture, some grand cathedrals, some grand gardens and grand castles, and grand tapas bars. Let me know. Hello, Raynette. Nice to see you here. So glad so many people are tuning in. Let me know, are you guys still, do you guys watch other live streamers? What are the other live streamers you've been watching? All right, we're exiting the park. We're gonna make our way over to the historic center. Angel heard me say topless bars. No, I say tapas bars. Tapas, as in the small little plates of food. Not topless. Is not really Seville's vibe. That would be for another city. Wow, look at this rooftop. I'm not sure what this rooftop is. Again, gorgeous architecture. Dutchman says, I enjoy watching Action Kid. Ooh, nice. Yeah, I'm glad Action Kid is all the way in China. That's so awesome that he's been able to live stream in China too, which I didn't know if it was fully possible. It makes me want to go to China as well. Would love to do a series of videos in China. Let me know. Ron says, I've been watching Walking Commuter in the last couple of years with Fields. Hey, I'm so glad, Ron. That's so cool that you're watching Walking Commuter. Is he still walking? Still commuting? Has he covered other cities yet? Let me know. Elon's Musk. Wow. That must be a very strong Musk. Have you met the barber yet? And his name Figaro. I did go to a barber here in Seville. I'm not joking. I made it a point to go to a barber in Seville because I love the opera Barbers in Seville. And as I cross the street, I'll let you know a little bit more about it, because I had a funny experience. Wow. So I went to the barber here in Seville. His name was Isidore. Very unique name. Apparently it's common in this part of Spain. And I didn't go for a haircut, but I just went for a beard trim because my beard was getting a bit bushy. And he's cutting my beard. He does a great job. He's pretty quick at it. He knows exactly how to cut it, which was great. And at the end of it, he's like, oh, your beard transmits, every beard transmits something. And your beard transmits something very special. And I'm like, what? What does it transmit? According to this barber's philosophy, is that each beard has a message. Some beards have a message of like, ugh, just please take it off your face, because people don't take care of it, or they're embarrassed by it, or they do it because, you know, sometimes people grow their beards because they're depressed or something like that. So he says that sometimes a beard is a bit, you know, kind of a sad transmission. But then some beards transmit power or domination or assertion or confidence. But he told me that my beard transmits magic. And he was like laughing to himself. He was like, oh wow, your beard just transmits magic. And he was so happy to have trimmed my beard, which I was actually very stunned for a barber to actually thank me for the haircut. So that was an awesome experience. Ended up getting a nice beard trim. Definitely going a little bit more, looking more like a wizard every single day. Is that barber still operating? Yeah, I just went 2 days ago. You got to search Isidore if you go to Seville. Great barber, recommend it. Isidor. Was there an additional charge? There was no additional charge, no. It actually was a very cheap beard trim. So beard trims in New York, I think the cheapest beard trim you can really get in New York nowadays is about $25. And then some beard trims go up to like $40, sometimes a bit more. But this beard trim was only €13, which is about $15-ish, $15.50. So a really good deal. Angel says, beautiful. Good morning, says Adam. Nice to see you here. Shane says, yeah, the Far East would be a wonderful adventure. Ron says, Aya sends her regards. Aw, thank you so much for tuning in, Aya. She's not streaming anymore, but we keep in touch. Oh, that's good to hear. Angel says that's a beautiful story about the barber. Will you be going to Cordoba or Granada? I only have 1 day left, and I was tempted to either go to Cordoba, Granada, Malaga, or Cadiz. But trains the day before are surprisingly sold out. So if you're coming to this area of Spain later in the day, if you're coming to this area of Spain in the month of late June, especially more so in July, do book your trains well in advance. It will be a bit more difficult to be spontaneous with doing day trips, as I've gotten used to in many other countries. Here, trains do run often, but it seems like there's so much demand that they're packed. So do book them in advance. I also was tempted to spontaneously go to Alhambra, which is the famous castle and gardens of Granada, and that was also sold out for the next week or so. So do plan here in advance. Someone earlier asked about prices. Seville is actually cheaper than Barcelona. Barcelona is actually pretty expensive for European standards. It's Barcelona is just a tad cheaper than Rome or Paris, and definitely way cheaper than London. But Seville's even cheaper than that. Seville's not as cheap as Lisbon though, or as the Algarve. So I splurged on a fancy meal in the middle of the historic center, and I spent 57 euro. It's about $65. And that's a splurge. I went to a little bit more moderately priced tapas bar for lunch and spent 22 euro, 25 euro. Tanya says, we watch your old videos since you really don't do lives now. And still watching Action Kid as he is in China. Saw him walk the Wall of China, which was pretty cool. Wow, he live streamed the Wall of China. That is really cool, actually. Really, really cool. Arius says, I love the birds singing. What cities did you go to? My trip is coming to an end. So my cities that I went to was Lisbon. I went to the Algarve, which included Lagos and Carviero. And then I headed over to Barcelona, or as the locals say it, Barcelona. And then I came down here by train, took a 5-hour and 40-minute train, high speed, to Seville. And that's it. Oh, and I have one more city that I'm going to. Maybe I'll be able to live stream there. Any good tacos, says Ron. Ron, great question. When it comes to foreign foods, it really does depend in the country you're in on which foreign foods will actually be the best. Foreign to the country in question. So if you're in many European countries, Italian food generally is going to be awesome. I've encountered great Italian food. It's not going to be the same exact Italian food you have in Italy, nor is it going to be Italian American food. It'll be more of like a more popularized, more mainstream version of what is in Italy. But nonetheless, Italian food usually is an easy bet in most European countries. This applies to Western Europe, to Northern Europe, to Central Europe. And I haven't tried Italian food yet in Eastern Europe, so maybe one day. But pizzas, pastas are good. When it comes to Asian foods, it depends on the country. England, yes. Scotland, also, yes. You'll find good Asian food. Lisbon, I got the impression that there was good Indian food and Nepalese food. I didn't get the chance to try it myself, but all those restaurants had really high reviews. Paris, also, I think you'll find solid Asian foods. Of course, Asia is a big area, but I'm generalizing with East Asia generally being Chinese, Japanese, and Indian. But when it comes to Mexican food, it's gonna be tough. I don't think many European countries really know how to do Mexican food well. I haven't tried Mexican food here in Spain yet, but I tried Mexican food in other countries, France, Italy, and England, and it was all pretty subpar. Pretty bad, actually. So I would not recommend Mexican food personally. I would recommend going more so towards other cuisines. Even poke balls, which has a Hawaiian influence and the East Asian influence, is better in many European cities. When it comes to Mexican food, of course, Mexico, but aside from Mexico, definitely the US, definitely Canada as well has good Mexican food. Also, the Caribbean, like Puerto Rico, has great Mexican food. And I bet many parts of South America also has good Mexican food. But I don't think Europe is the place for a good taco. There might be ones, there might be a few, but it will be more of an exception than the rule. Hey, Martin, mi pana desde el Bronx. Wow, I'm so happy you're watching from the Bronx. That's awesome. Thank you so much for tuning in. Oleg says, I fell in love with Seville after watching a few walking videos several years ago. It seems so green and calm. It really is green and calm. Hey, Glory, nice to see you here. Welcome. Tiger says, Paris is very good Asian food. A lot of great Vietnamese food. Yes, that is also true. I agree with you. Paris had amazing Vietnamese food. Go to the Vietnamese area in Paris if you ever get the chance. But yeah, here in Spain, if you get a little bit tired of the tapas, want something substantial, hamburgers are really good. Go to a good hamburger restaurant or hamburger fast food. There's great hamburgers in Spain because there's great beef in Spain, great ingredients in Spain. Great cheese in Spain too, so the hamburgers with the local cheeses are just delectable. Or have some pizza as well. I had New York City style pizza here in Seville and I was blown away, actually. Check out my Instagram stories. I was blown away by the local pizza. You have to check out Setas de Sevilla in North Seville. Ooh, okay. I'll be going to Spain later this year. Barcelona, Madrid, Seville. Anywhere else I should go to. Those are only 3 cities I've been to so far in Spain, so I can't offer a recommendation outside of those 3. Those are literally the only 3 I've seen so far. However, from my impression here in Seville, it seems evident to me that Granada is well worth the journey. And then from Barcelona, I can't tell you for sure. I wish I knew more of the day trips. Barcelona is just an amazing city overall. There's so much to see in Barcelona, but definitely go to all the Gaudi houses and the church, Sagrada Familia. They are not overhyped. They are well worth the visit. Despite the crowds and despite their popularity, they're the most unique pieces of architecture you will ever see. Do restaurants stay open here? Ooh, later, says Ron. Great question. I'm actually a bit shocked. Here in Seville, restaurants have been closing early in the historic center. And it's because a lot of tourists don't eat late. So the historic center really caters to tourists and closes their restaurants by about 11 p.m. Their kitchens close around 10:30, which is very early for Spanish standards. Usually restaurants are open until 12 or longer here in Spain. I haven't encountered that yet in Seville. I have to go a little bit outside the historic center in order to see that. But yeah, the Spaniards tend to eat pretty late, but not in the historic center. In the historic center, you'll be hard-pressed to find food after 11, which is a bit of a shame because the sun sets here pretty late. I've been taking siestas here every single day. A siesta is a nap during the middle of the day, and it's because in the middle of the day, it's empty. There's almost no one around. No one's doing anything. A lot of stores are closed. Many restaurants are closed. The middle of the day is pretty much no man's land. So I've been taking a nice siesta around 1 p.m. to about 3 p.m., 2-hour siestas, and they've been wonderful. So with the siesta and with the sun setting late and with it being so hot during the day, I've wanted to eat more at 11, and I haven't had the chance to do that here in the historic center. All right, let's do a bench review. So here's a bench, and this is a review. There's bird poo on this bench. Uh-oh. Some points minus for the bird poo. Ooh, the bench has a little bit of a bounce. It's a bouncy bench. A bouncy iron bench. It's cool. I kind of like it. It's a nice little, this is an extra little feature. Little bounce. So nice bouncy bench. Great backside. I like the ironwork, though we're lucky it's cloudy, because if it were not cloudy, this would probably be a burning cauldron for your ass. But nice sound of the birds, some bird poo for aesthetics, a little bouncy bench in the shade in this beautiful civilian square. This is a great bench. Bird poo gets a little bit minus points, and the fact that it could get very hot on the sun gets a few points less. But this gets a very good 8.2 out of 10. Albo says this bench has seen some action. I wouldn't doubt it. Tiger says, I really enjoy these live streams. I wish you would do them more often. Tiger, thank you so much for watching. I'm not sure if you're new. Pardon me if you're not. I've done many live streams all across Europe, so do check out my replays. I've covered from the top of the Alps to the Vatican, to the streets of Amsterdam at night, to Paris. I've covered so many places. Let me know, what are the most mind-blowing places I've covered on my live streams. As to doing more often, let me know, for the people who keep seeing live streams, are other people also struggling with getting views on live streams? It seems like YouTube is no longer pushing IRL live streams, which to me is a bit of a shame, because it's such a beautiful medium. I love live streams. I think it's really one of the best mediums for video. It's so interactive, so immersive, especially when it comes to travel content. I think it's a great way to experience the city. All right, let's continue walking around. Now we're in the historic center. Haven't seen this tower yet, and soon I'll show you the cathedral, so stay tuned. Let's go to the tower first. Hey, Oleg says the bird poo is painted there for aesthetics. Wendy says we love the live streams. Cat Yellow Ranger says, been a while since I've seen one of your live streams. Yeah, I haven't live streamed in a bit. I did one live stream, 2 live streams in Lisbon, a brief one in Barcelona, and now this is my second one in Seville. Chris says, I like when you were in Greece. Me too. Me too. I love Greece. Ron says, yeah, it's not quite the same as it was in 2020. Yeah, 2020 was like the heyday of live streaming. So many people were tuning in. I remember hundreds, if not sometimes thousands of people tune in. Camilla says, in my opinion, your live videos are the best. Yeah, thank you so much, Camilla. I appreciate that. Ariel, I've been watching you since 2020. I love the Mexico City live streams. All right, Tiger. Thank you so much for reminding me. That's awesome. You've been tuning in for so long time. Yeah, Mexico City was a pleasure. A deep, deep, deep pleasure to visit. And I was there only for like 10 days, a little bit less than 10 days. And I just packed so much into that one trip. And I really want to go back because I enjoyed it so much. So here we are. Wow. Beautiful castle. But I think, let's go to the cathedral. This is a nice tower, but I think people are going to be awed by the largest Gothic cathedral in the entire world. It's the third largest cathedral in the world, but the largest of Gothic style. People find shorts but won't watch long videos, says Ron. Yes, it's very evident to me that the audiences are different. So, you know, I'm blessed to have a massive audience, but a lot of that audience is due to short videos, and it doesn't really translate to live streams. Many people who watch my short videos have no idea that I do live streams. It's exactly the fan I need at home for the hot New York City summer. Chris says, are things closed on Sundays? We're in the middle of the day, so a lot of restaurants and bars are indeed closed. It's not like London or New York or even Paris, where bars tend to be open all throughout the day. They do indeed close here during the day, reopen at night. So it's like lunch time is like bar time, or lunch is pretty late. Lunch is about 1 p.m., 2 p.m. And then they close for a little bit and then reopen at night, usually after 8 p.m. Hey, New Year Eve's live stream still brings subs. Sinatra reached 300K recently. Ron, who's Sinatra? Let me know. I loved your London stuff. I went to many of the places you recommended. Ah, London. Such a great city. Such a great city. I can't wait to go back one day. Wow. We're seeing the backside of the cathedral right over here. Oh my. All right, we're gonna walk that direction. Ron says CFOT. Oh yeah, CFOT New York walking show gets a whole lot of views during those New Year's Eve live streams. All right, who wants to go see the cathedral? Let me know. Susie says beautiful flowers. I agree. Cat Yellow Ranger says very refreshing to see your live streams again. I'm so happy you're tuning in. Thank you so much, man. Glory says, I have been watching you for a long time. That's crazy. That taxi was going way too fast for a mostly pedestrian zone. Ron says, YouTube is trying to copy Twitch, but it's half-baked. Yeah, I think even Twitch is struggling. I think the platforms that people are watching live streams is Kick, and there's another one. It's all these like young 20-something kids doing live streams now. Aiden Ross, I Show Speed, I think is his name. Yeah, and they're getting like millions of views. But it's a entirely different way of live streaming. Their live streams is like having like long chats, sitting down, fooling around. Kat says, if I ever come to Spain, I'll be back to this area. Yes, southern Spain to me seems so worth it. So worth it. Susan says, please wish your dad a happy Father's Day. Oh, I will. Thank you so much, Susan. I've been watching you for a long time. It started with the Puerto Day Parade, says Glory. Wow, Puerto Day Parade was my first viral live stream. I ended up getting 427,000 people tuning in live. Tiger says, I think YouTube is slowing down. New York City-based influencers have a lot less views. Yeah. I think it's live streaming. And then when it comes to vlogging, I think people are watching less vlogs. Really where it's at is short videos. People just love short videos, or at least the platforms love short videos. So here we have the castle of Alcázar, and then right behind it, the third largest cathedral in the entire world. The Cathedral de Seville, the Seville Cathedral with the Torre de la Giralda, which is which used to be a minaret. Yep, that tower was a minaret. It was an Islamic minaret. It was built during the Islamic Caliphate of the Almohads. Built around the 1100s AD. And there was a massive mosque over here as well. The mosque was, I think, for the most part, partly destroyed. They might have kept some foundational parts, or may have reused some of the stones, but it was destroyed. But they kept the minaret and converted it into a Catholic bell tower. And then the Alcázar was also built during Moorish times. The Moors is the name given to the Islamic caliphates, and also the North African people, the Maghreb, the Berbers, and many different varieties of people from North Africa who adopted Arabic as language, who adopted Islam, and also came into Spain. They all got the name Moors. So this was built by the Moors as well. But then the Spanish Reconquista happened, also known as the reconquering in English. And they reconquered city after city after city. The Christian kingdom slowly inching their way to recapturing Spain again into Christian hands, as it was before the Islamic caliphates, where it was the rulers were the Visigoths, who were also outsiders as well. Phony says, when I was young, the attention span was 15 minutes. The time between commercials on TV. Now it's much less. Oh yeah. Just don't stop sharing. I love this. Every story says Morgan. Oh, Morgan, thank you so much for tuning in. Miss Love says, Ariel. Welcome, Miss Love. New York streams are a dime and a dozen at this point, says Kat. Oh yes. Too many people doing live streams in New York. Once a month live stream seems like a good compromise, says Almo. Yeah. I mean, Almo... Basically, yeah. I'm not always so compelled to live stream in New York. As a few of you just said, there's so many New York City live streamers. And it's always the same place at this point. But definitely while I'm traveling, I'm compelled to live stream. Wow, look at this. So if you want to see more footage of the Alcázar, I actually have a video posted on YouTube, a live stream, and then I have a reel posted on on Facebook. Maybe I should post it also on YouTube. So stay tuned. I'm gonna post a 3-minute walkthrough on YouTube so you can see it as well. Foes is Chris Bates. Hey, Chris. I'm glad you adopted a new name. That's awesome, man. Janice says, lovely, Ariel. Janice, I hope you're doing well. For anyone who's a mega urbanist who contributes $20 or more on YouTube or Patreon, if you're not on the postcard list, do send me your address via Instagram DM or a Patreon message, and let me know what platform you're supporting on. But you do get postcards ever so often throughout the year. I can't send postcards as often as I did because I haven't been traveling as often as I have, but people are getting postcards from Portugal and or Spain. You're the best, and the flex is that you're Nuyorican. Yes, hey, happy to be Nuyorican. I'm definitely like practicing my Spanish here. It's a bit tricky though, because for some reason, a lot of people here in Spain, applies to Barcelona, happened to me in Madrid, it's happening to me here in Seville, they speak to me in English. And I'm genuinely shocked. I've expressed this when I did my Barcelona live streams, where people just like automatically speak to me in English. And I don't think I'm dressing up as a typical American per se. And I like fit in Italy and France and Greece. And I fit in a few other countries, like even Ireland, and also in, like without speaking, and also in parts of Central Europe, like even Poland, they just spoke to me all automatically in Polish. But here, no, they're like, oh, you're not Spaniard. We're gonna speak to you in English. And then I speak Spanish, and then unfortunately, sometimes, I would say like 60-70% of the time, they speak to me back in English, even though I'm even speaking in Spanish. And yeah, I do have an accent, but I do know Spanish fluently. So it's not like I don't know Spanish. Like I know it fluently, but I have an accent, and they still speak to me in English. So it's a bit difficult to really focus on practicing my Spanish here. Kat says, Spain Spanish is different from South American Spanish. Indeed it is. Indeed it is, yes. All right, let's go into the cathedral. Hopefully I won't get stopped by having the live stream. So pardon if I'm silent, also to respect the sanctity. But let's go see the largest cathedral. So I'll be posting more footage of this cathedral on my Instagram stories or Facebook stories, Urbanist Ariel, same username across all platforms. Do follow me there for extra little snippets. Almo says Spanglish is perfectly acceptable. You know, since I've been really hammering down my Spanish, really like insisting to speak Spanish, the moment I even use one English word, I am automatically spoken to in English. So Spanglish is not really kind of accepted. It's either English or Spanish. So the cathedral is accessible, but you have to buy tickets if I am correct. And they require advance booking. So do be sure to book the Alcazar and the cathedral ahead of time. And then if you want to go to other cities like Cordoba or Granada, do book them in advance as well. Hey, Miss Lob says, can you do a video where you show all the cathedrals you filmed? Oh, that might be an interesting project for my editor, Maria. Yeah, stay tuned. That's a good, interesting idea. Hey, Colleen, welcome. Kat says, maybe those people have seen your video. No, I don't think I'm not popular in Spain. Morgan says, 11th century? Yeah. This was built a little bit later. This was built much later. If I recall correctly, 1500s. Time says, are you going to Cordoba? No, I am not. Don't have enough time. You know, it's an interesting balance when traveling. I'm very blessed to have the opportunity to travel often because it is my work. But I know if you don't have the time to travel all the time, you might be tempted and probably will cram a lot of places at once so you can enjoy your 2-week vacation and really see a massive swath of Spain, Portugal, maybe another country. Maybe you fit in 3 countries. But for someone who has the pleasure of traveling a lot, I actually don't like cramming a bunch of different cities, because if I'm going to be bored, at least I'm going to be bored in Seville, which is going to be nice, or in Paris, or in, unfortunately, Rotterdam is not so fun to be bored in, but it's nice to take it easy. So if you do have the chance to travel often, and if you do be grateful, because not everyone has that opportunity, but if you do take your time. And if you are traveling, because everyone has the ability to travel somewhere, you might not be able to take a plane across to another continent, or in Europe it might be a little bit tougher, time restrictions, money to get from one city to another. But if you do have the opportunity to travel, even in your local area, even with the car you have or the public transportation at your disposal, do take your time, do take it easy. Have some trips where you don't over plan. Have some trips where you actually plan less than you actually, the time that you have, that it seems like, oh my God, you're barely doing anything. Make those trips as well, because you'll find that you'll discover things that you would not have expected. I can't tell you what that is for me in Seville because that hasn't happened yet. I still have one more entire day left. But that has happened to me in so many other countries. Camilla says, are you going somewhere in Europe next? I might be back in Europe later in the summer, yes. Stay tuned. All right, let's see a little bit more of the cathedral. We're walking basically the perimeter of the cathedral right now. Lots of shops, restaurants, gelato shops. You can find fast food paella right over here. Find a lot of stuff here. You can find New York pizza by the slice. This is not the best one. There's one that's really, really good called Pizza Urbana. Ooh, let's take a peek here. Chris Bates says, early on I would actually cram a lot, but nowadays I travel more relaxed. We only went to a couple neighborhoods this time and really explored them. It's hard not to try to see everything. It is. It can be incredibly tempting to see everything and anything that you can. But I'm not sure if anyone has noticed. Have you ever noticed when you're like sitting down or meditating or contemplating in a bench or sitting in the beach relaxing, anytime you're in this kind of relaxed state, have you ever noticed that certain images pop into your mind? Certain images of places pop into your mind. Sure, we have a lot of memories of people and experiences, but have you noticed that you also have memories of places? And have you noticed that sometimes those memories of places are very kind of like surprising? Like, why would you remember this very mundane corner of your local neighborhood? Like for me, I have memories of like Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. It's not a neighborhood particularly I'm like crazy about. It's not a neighborhood I found it's like deeply awe-inspiringly beautiful, but I have memories of it nonetheless, and it pops into my head. And the reason it does is because I was truly present when I was there in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. And this applies to many places I visited in Europe. Because if we try to cram things, yes, you might see a lot, but you won't be present. So they won't linger in your mind. So in my opinion, those memories that pop up when you're in that relaxed state and think of this wonderful place, that is very valuable. It's more valuable than checking off a list of places when you travel. So by being present, by being relaxed in a location like here in Seville, and just standing here for a moment, not doing much, not needing to talk, not needing to move, you can maybe sit down for a coffee or a drink and just sit. This moment will linger with you for a very long time. It will linger with you in moments that you will not expect. So by being present, you will take something with you far greater than check marks on the list. Though the check marks can be fun, it could be fun to do a speed run of Europe for sure, because I've done it before. But don't underestimate these quieter moments. Don't underestimate the moments where you're bored in a beautiful city like Seville. Don't underestimate the moments where you're sitting at the cafe not doing much. Or when you're walking around a cathedral, when every tourist is inside, you're walking around in a place where no one really notices, and you see this graffiti from 200 years ago, 200, maybe 300 years ago. This graffiti was written in animals' blood. I'm not joking with you. Quite true. Animals' blood. I'm not sure for what reason, but this is multiple centuries old. But you can notice that almost no one here is noticing this, because if you're in tourist mode, it's very easy to go from point A, the cathedral, to point B, the Alcazar, to point C, to having a paella, to point D, to having a sangria, to point F, to watching the flamenco show, and so on, and then finishing the night really beat tired because you just ran across blazing hot Seville, seeing all the sights, but not stopping to see a random side of a cathedral and noticing, oh my God, this is a weird little part of history. Elon Musk says that's the power of the magical beer. Touche, touche. Almost as in the booze doesn't help. All right, let's explore. So we saw plenty of the cathedral. Now let's go into the streets of Seville and see all the little restaurants, the tapas bars, the knick-knack shops, the little hidden plazas. Tiger Cat says that was well said. I agree.
Service.
Now I find this genius, the curtains that hang above these streets. This is the beauty of a smaller street, is that these streets are more intimate, more cozy. It encourages cars to go slower because they're not super wide open. Which is great for pedestrians and also drivers. You know, driving fast is not always the funnest. And then these allows for curtains to be put up here in order to lower the heat as you're walking through. Adam says, what do you do when you have a list? I usually never travel with having a set list of places. I'm a bit more particular. I'm a little bit more spontaneous. I don't like really picking and choosing all the places I go to. And then making itineraries. But when I have to, say I'm sponsored by a cool company or organization, like I was for Rotary International last year and went to Chicago, or what's another sponsored trip I did? I went to Helsinki as well. I went to Stockholm and I worked with Visit Stockholm. When that happens, I do make a little bit of a list, and I try not to overpack it so I'm not tired out by the end of the day. But yeah, it's a different style of traveling for sure when you're traveling with an itinerary. I can tell you that you won't encounter too many magical moments when you are traveling with the itinerary. You will see a lot of things. You'll hit a lot of things to see and places to be, and in my case, things to make videos of. But those magical moments that are unexpected, that are kind of an adventure onto themselves, and that's happened to me many times on live streams. For example, in Rome, I was wandering the streets of Prati at night, which is in the neighborhood of the Vatican, and I heard jazz from the distance, and it came from a boat on the Tiber River. And I got into this boat, not needing to buy tickets in advance, only just needing to buy a drink, and saw live jazz. Definitely a memory I will always remember. So those moments happen more when you don't have a plan. That's I would say the only downside of not having it. That's the main downside of not having a plan. Of having a plan, I mean. Almo says, does having a travel companion have its disadvantages? It depends on the companion. It really does. If you have a travel companion who's not comfortable with spontaneity, it's going to be very difficult to be spontaneous. It's going to be very difficult to convince them to be spontaneous, because some people associate spontaneity or the prospect of spontaneity with stress. Some people will associate no plan with tension and worry, while some people might associate a plan with overly restricting and feeling too cramped and too structured. So it really does depend who you're with. I think the most important thing is to travel with someone you're compatible, and those make for the best travel companions. And that said, I think the other learning is that it's okay to do your own thing when you're traveling. So I'm lucky to have a companion who is a girlfriend who I really kind of vibe with, who's also spontaneous, who also is okay with not having a specific itinerary. But we did discover different tastes of travel. I prefer really randomly exploring the city. I could sit in a cafe for hours, while she wants to go on a hike, go to the beach. And those are minor differences, but it's kind of cool to do the things that she likes and she does the things I like. But a learning I had was that it's okay, especially if you're traveling with someone for many days, if not more than a week or so, it's okay to do your own thing too from time to time. You don't always have to spend every single waking moment with a significant other, with your kids, or with family if you're traveling, or with friends if you're traveling with them. You don't have to spend every single moment with them, because it's okay to want to do your own thing and then meet up with them for another thing. So that, I think, is the two things to keep in mind when you're traveling. Make sure they're compatible. It's going to be really hard if you're spontaneous to travel with someone who doesn't like spontaneity. It's going to be really hard if you like itineraries. Well, actually, if you like itineraries, you just make sure that the person is okay with doing your itinerary, because otherwise it's going to be really hard traveling with someone who doesn't like structure. So make sure you're compatible, at least in that very basic thing. After that, then be okay with doing your own thing from time to time. Adam says, is it good to have a starting point and an ending point when visiting a city? Well, it depends on your style, but no, for me, no. I'd rather not have a starting point and an ending point. Oleg says, having a soulmate companion is great luck. Indeed, indeed. Miss Love says, good advice. Travel with someone that goes to sleep and wake you up the same time as you. That is also important. You know, that's another kind of small little level of compatibility that might not be too obvious in the beginning, but if you're generally waking up and going to sleep at the same times, it's going to be a lot easier to travel with that person. Because if someone really likes partying till late night and then waking up very late, midday, 12 noon, and then worse, they just want to chill out the entire day, and then you don't want to party, you go at a reasonable time, wake up early, want to walk around, you're pretty much not going to see that person. Thomas says, tell my kids to do something alone. Yeah, I would. I mean, depends how old your kids are, but if they're of a adult age, I would say if they're above 17, depends for any parent, but if they're above 17, then definitely you should let your kids do their own parts of the trip. Because if you're trying to stick to the hip to them the entire trip, it won't be fun for either of you. Miss Lob says, I'm getting Stroget vibes. Yes, Stroget in Copenhagen, the main shopping street, is very similar to this, yeah. B Fart says, you need to fix the gimbal's calibration. I don't think it's my gimbal. You know, I calibrate my gimbal every time I go live. I actually go into the settings, do the auto calibration, make sure the levels are even. I think it's the software. For some reason, the software is making the camera shaky. I think it might be applying some stabilization, something. But the new Prism Live Studio app is really making my camera very shaky than it used to be. If I hold my camera handheld right now, it'll probably be a little bit more steady, and I'm not sure why. Wendy says it looks pretty quiet. It is pretty quiet, yeah. Not much happening at the moment. Ron says could be an update required. I already have the app up to date. Hey, Cristo says, thank you so much for going live as of late. Oh yeah, my pleasure. Miss Lob says, call us someone who needs a plan rather than someone who doesn't like spontaneity. Yeah, I mean, it's a subtle difference, but yes. Yeah, some people, it's not really, the question is not about spontaneity, they just need a plan. And actually I can, you know, I can hang out with people like that. I can easily make up a plan. And I've noticed some people feel at ease when there's some plan, even if the plan is not really stuck to. Are there any bullfights today? I don't think so. Camilla says, why are you leaving? At some point. I don't reveal the details. of my ins and outs. Ron says, gimbal update required. Oh, I already have it up to date. Adam says, if there is there sites that are outside the city that you decide to go first? No, generally to me it's the opposite. Generally I stick to the city first, and because I don't want to get too don't want to run out of energy. You know, traveling could also be a bit draining. Being on the train for a long time, especially being on an airplane, and you don't want to come straight out of your flight or a very long train ride or a very long bus ride and immediately go outside, go to your hotel and immediately go outside the city. You're gonna get a little bit tired. So I think it's better when you check into your hotel or your Airbnb to explore the areas in the immediate vicinity as opposed to really going too far out. I would leave the further out places for later in the trip. Maybe even the second day, actually, is a bit easier. But even then, I like enjoying my mornings in the city. I really like getting the vibe of the city in my first day or two. Thomas says, how does it feel to live stream again? It feels nice, especially in a city like Seville, which is just so pretty at every single corner. Chris says, video quality is smoother on Twitch. Ooh, it is? Oh, that's good to hear. Janice says, I have to go. Thank you so much, Janice, for tuning in. I appreciate you. All right, let's walk around for about 15 more minutes. Almo says, you Patreon members get flight numbers. No, I never publish my flight number. Ooh, I got the perfect place to show you. The largest wooden structure, apparently, in the world. Right down there. Let's wait for the light. Camilla says, do you miss the US? No. You know, I love America, but I just don't like it. Let me know if anyone else feels the same. I love my country. I just don't like being there. Wendy says 15 more minutes, or hey, a few more mere hours. Oh my God, the light is not turning. I'm not sure why. Oh, Camilla says us, not the US. Yeah, it's nice. It's very nice and heartwarming to see all the viewers old school urbanist still tuning in every single day. So yes, of course. I actually was thinking about that. I was like, oh, you know, I was like in Lisbon with my girlfriend and I was in vacation mode. So I shot very little. I shot a few clips, which which my editor Maria made into a video. But otherwise I was really in vacation mode. And even as I was walking around, I was like thinking to myself, oh, it'd be so nice to show Camilla and Janice and Cat Yellow Ranger and all the other viewers out there, Ron and Barbara and Marianne. Like, oh, it'd be cool to show them these views of the stunning seascape. Or Miss Love and Camilla and Chris and Wendy and Thomas and Almo and Auden and Beefarts and Morgan and Mon and Solar Plexus and everyone else tuning in. Almo says I went briefly political. No, I'm talking more about vibes. You know, I really love the European vibes. I'm not really a big fan of American cities, aside from New York and Boston and DC. But other than that, not really a fan. Ron says, Wendy M lurks in my channel. She lurks? She doesn't comment? Oh no. So right here, apparently this is the largest wooden structure in the world. I'm skeptical. I read this in the guidebook. I'm skeptical. There might be a bigger wooden structure, I bet. But they call this the largest wooden structure in the world. And apparently it's a viewpoint on top. And here are all the bars and restaurants. Ferry says, it's Old Town Seville, fantastic city. I've seen your shorts about my city. They're great. Oh, I'm so glad. Man, I'm loving Seville. So happy to be here. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Setas de Seville, says Adam. Oh, this is called the Setas de Seville? The Setas, if I'm correct, are mushrooms. That's funny. Do they call this the mushrooms of Seville? Isabel says, and me too. Yes, Isabel, of course. I also was thinking of you. You also might be getting a postcard soon. And then Susie, who hasn't tuned in yet on these new live streams. What happened? I hope she's okay. Do you count how many cities have you visited in your life? I don't have the count. I think I counted countries. Countries, it's not that many, but I think of the like high 20s. Cities is a lot. I visit a lot of cities. And it depends on what you consider a city. Because I've technically been to Wells, England. And it's a city of 20,000 people, I think it was. It's a tiny, it's I think literally the smallest city in Europe. So yeah, I've been to a lot of cities. Adele says the camera doesn't do it justice. It's a stunning place. Yeah, it looks stunning. It's an acoustic design. I mean, the sound is being carried through, but I don't think so. I don't think it's meant to be acoustic. I think it's meant to be environmentally friendly. Inspired life also, a lot of people. Is the sound more awesome beneath it, says Miss Lam. You know, to me, I don't tell a difference. Ron says, Susie from Bushwick? Yes.
I think I want to do that with David.
All right, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in This is Seville, a city I highly recommend. To see the main sights of the city and explore a little bit of the historical downtown, I think you will only really need 2 days. Seville's not really that big. I couldn't find too many other big sites to visit outside of the historical center. If anyone has recommendations, please do let me know. Aside from that, it's a gorgeous city. It's also a good base if you want to do day trips to a whole host of other cities, Cadiz, Cordoba, Granada. Otherwise, there's a lot of other places to visit in southern Spain, and I want to come back, really, to southern Spain and explore more of it. And I just really love the vibes in the city. Great city to hang out in and be chilling and relax and have a good wine, sangria, or a cerveza, a beer, and some tapas. And stay tuned to my Instagram stories, Urbanist for more pro tips on where to eat, where to drink, and a few more sites and landmarks I visit or that I don't do full videos of. Thank you everyone so much for tuning in and keep being awesome and always keep on exploring. Have a great day, everyone. Adios, amigos.